Hey, gang, welcome back to Nopes and Opes. I'm joined by my lovely co host, Hylan.
Yeah.
And today we talk about how Hylan went with me to a comedy club, the one I've been performing at, the Jukebox Comedy Club
Yeah. Here in Peoria.
here in Peoria. Great venue if you're ever in the Peoria area. I know some of you, our listeners and watchers, live in Peoria. Probably most of you. I don't know. But you guys should check it out. It's a really great place. They have open mics Wednesdays and Thursdays. They have weekend shows Fridays and Saturdays. Show some love. It's one of the oldest stand-up comedy clubs in the U.S.,
Well, and I'll just
possibly
say,
the world.
as someone that has never been to a comedy club, I'm just going to say I've never been to one. I don't think I ever have. But I cannot recommend it highly enough. I had a great time. It was super fun. The comedy was surprisingly, like I was rolling. It was great.
Yeah.
So I had a really fun time. It was a fascinating experience for me. It was funny experience for me. So I next time I go, I would prefer not to sit in the freaking front row spotlight.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was awesome.
Well, we'll work on that. Hopefully, the next time Highland goes, like I'll be performing.
Yeah,
We'll see.
exactly.
But with that being said, we talk a lot about the experience. We talk about comedy, kind of get into the things I'm thinking about, kind of an exploration of what we saw last night. And yeah, overall, it
Well,
was kind of fun.
and a little bit of the psychology too. I mean, it was a fascinating case study. I mean, there's so much there.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
Well, gang, if you ever want to reach out to us at NopeOpePod@gmail.com or comment below on Spotify, YouTube. We're available anywhere there are podcasts. And without further ado, enjoy the show. Well, Hylan, you got to step a little bit into my world as of late. I took Hylan to the Jukebox Comedy Club this Saturday, and we had a lovely time.
I feel like I stepped too much into your world.
Front row, actually.
I was not super happy with. Well, one, I thought it was funny, and then I kind of got it, but I still don't totally get it. Like when the owner, Dan,
Dan, yeah.
he's like, wait. Like we were just walking in, and he's like, no, I gotta seat you, and I was like, oh boy, what the heck? And then just kept walking forward, more forward, like to the very, very, like not only front, but like front and center.
Yeah.
It was like,
There's almost like a light on us, like we were
Yeah.
part of the stage.
no, it was like spotlighted
Yeah.
table.
And the best part is when we're walking up. So we went to the Jukebox Comedy Club, which is the comedy club that I do my open mics at and whatnot. And it was a Saturday show. And it was like a Peoria showcase, which they feature like local comics that have been doing it for a while and have success. So my goal is to eventually get on one of these showcases, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
To like actually get in front of like an audience versus just an open mic. Because an open mic, it's mostly just comics and maybe a few customers. Like when I say a few, I literally mean 3. If there's more than 3, it's like, whoa, great night for comedy.
Yeah.
So going to this was really cool because it was like actual like customers that actually kind of filled up the room so that you got to actually, from a comic standpoint, like work on material and do it in front of people that haven't heard it before, which was cool to see.
I feel like there was a legitimate crowd.
Yeah, no,
Like
there was.
If you were on stage, you'd feel like you were actually like on a stage, like performing.
So as we get there, Dan is gonna like walk us to our seats and whatnot, which I've never been to a weekend show, so this was my first time. So I just wanted to see, and I had the night off, and I was like, Highland, let's go watch some comedy. Let's see what it's like. And so as we're walking up to the stage, I can see that Dan's leading us up to the front, and Highland behind me goes, Rowan, no. And we sit down, and I'm like, which one? I'll be in the aisle. You be on the outside. He sits down, and then Highland looks at me. He's like, can we request to sit somewhere else? And I am trying to be on Dan's good side because, I want to eventually get on the show. He's the owner of the club. So I'm like, Highland, but we got to sit here. So Highland did one of the most uncomfortable things he could possibly do, which is sit front row at a comedy show. For you saying you might have been to one in LA, but it's been a very long time.
I don't think I've ever been to one. Definitely not like that. Like that. No, I I can't remember. Like, there's a lot of things that I did in LA that I don't necessarily remember very clearly,
Yeah.
but I don't think that I've ever been to a comedy club, but definitely not like that. And definitely not like if I did, I was not anywhere near the
The
front
front.
of the stage,
Yeah.
like in a spotlight, in a very, very, very small crowd and being a very noticeable person. Like I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna end. This is gonna go so badly. And I was so worried in the beginning. And luckily, I mean, the comics were great. I couldn't believe it. I had such a good time. I loved it. But throughout the show, like every once in a while, like just fear would creep in and just be like, please don't notice me. Please don't notice me. Please don't say anything to me. But no, I had a great time and it was
Yeah.
fantastic. But
Most of the comics didn't do crowd work, but sometimes as a strategy, I feel like if you're not necessarily getting like a lot of laughs or to like kind of win over the audience, you'll do some crowd work. And there were some comedians that would do a little bit of crowd work. At any time they started to do that, I would look over at Hylan and Hylan would just be looking down like, oh geez. Like
I could tell you exactly what type of shoes every single comic had on that
nice.
night because I spent a lot of time looking at the shoes for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I did not make I tried my best to be like respectful and like look up once in a while and just be like, "Hey, I see you." And then I'd look immediately down
No.
like I didn't want to be like totally rude and just like never, but man, I spent a lot of time looking at
No.
you for
It's all
sure.
right. There was someone to our there's a table to our right, and this couple did not laugh very often, and they looked angry to be there. And it's very fascinating where there was a couple that was behind us, and they were laughing a lot.
They were the best.
Yeah. And one thing that a lot of people I've realized about Big Ball that I really don't like is that when you have hair and someone's laughing or coughing behind you, you don't feel their air hit the back of your head. That was happening a lot. And
Oh.
anytime that happens, it makes me like want to turn around and be like, "What are you doing?"
Really?
Yeah, like that. That's happened at the club. Or like someone will cough behind me, and I'll just feel it on
No.
the back of my head, and I'm like,
You.
ah. So
That's
that's
gross.
one thing about Big Ball that's not fun.
I've never ever even thought about that.
Yeah,
That's kind of disgusting.
yeah, it was not fun. But overall, I think we had a great night. It was really cool. And
Well,
then, oh, go
and
ahead.
the tables are so close to each other.
Yeah,
Like for me, that was really uncomfortable because like when I leaned back, like in my chair, like the lady behind us she was having a great time
yeah.
and she had a great laugh and she actually made the night so much better for me because like she was enjoying herself so much I could kind of relax a little bit.
Hmm.
But I felt like I kind of like sat like this the whole time because if I sat like back here, I felt like I was right in
Their
her
face.
space, man. So but yeah, there was a lot of uncomfortability there, but at the same time, I had a great time. It was super fun,
Yeah,
and
I genuinely was like very impressed that you were able to sit in the front and
I
like
didn't have the
go through the entire
like.
time.
Did I have a choice?
I mean,
Like,
I mean, you always have a choice, Highland.
could I have gotten up and just walked away and like been like, no, I'm not doing
Yeah, you
this.
could have been like, Rowan, I'm sitting in the car. Like, I can't do this anymore. You could have,
Oh man.
but you embraced it. And I appreciate that. So thank you for doing that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but it was cool when we got back home. I was talking to Hylan and I shared with him some of my stand up that I've been doing because I record the audio on my phone. And it was cool for Hylan to hear it versus the first time you ever heard me
Mm.
do stand up versus now. And I think it'd be cool if you kind of articulated what the difference was from the first time you heard it to what you've been hearing me do recently.
Well, just from a psychological standpoint, right? Like just as a case study from somebody that's interested in like human behavior and psychology and emotions and how we kind of present ourselves to the world. Oh my God. Uh, just a world of difference, right? You could tell from that first the the video from Chicago, from the very moment you actually open the video, you feel like you're entering a dark tunnel. Like it's not welcoming. You're kind of like you just feel trepidation. You're like, I don't want to go in there, and like like you're on like a ride and like forcing you to go into this like dark cave tunnel, and you're just going down to the depths of hell. And it's just like, I mean, I don't mean to make it sound that bad, but it's just like I don't want to do
Yeah.
this. Like I would rather like jump out and suffer whatever injuries. But and then you hear, and I wish like I could. Well, actually, it's interesting to just listen to it because like I have an image in my head, but you can feel the looseness. You can feel the sense of like enjoyment. You can feel like you're having a good time, like you're enjoying yourself up there, and even
You're talking about the eclipse from now.
yeah. So like in contrast, right? I mean, it's like it goes from dark to light, from just like pure kind of um fear and dread to like just enjoyment and a lack of discomfort, like ease. Just it's just it's a total contrast, right? It's
Yeah.
and it's clearly apparent. It's so like I think at some point it would be like I don't know I don't know if we ever want to show that first.
Oh, I'm sure we're not gonna show it on this episode, but one of these days, I'm sure I'll show it. And I think it'd be cool, like if I let's say I'll put it out there to the audience. If I have a clip that I film that is like me crushing it and like killing in a set, I would love to be like, hey, yeah, and like I'm sure we'll do eventually, like say 2 years into my comedy career, I'll do like a look back on like where I started and kind of talk about it because I do want to. So like I'm a really big fan of like the process of someone becoming successful in something, and there's not a lot of well there is more now, but there never really was anyone that would like do a series on what it's like to write jokes and to like get into stand up and whatnot. Because usually most people that do that are like, oh, I'm gonna make it, so I'm gonna start filming now, and then they like fall off or they never want to continue it. So I would be interested in doing something like when I've kind of had a lot of success, looking back and kind of talking about what it was like in the beginning and showing clips like that. But
No, I think that would be super interesting for me.
yeah,
Just I just love the kind of process and just the humanity of it. Anyone pursuing anything, right? But I think just from right now, from this moment, looking back,
yeah.
the your dad used juxtaposition in today, and when we were talking, and I was like, whoa, Kurt, throwing out some big words, but it's a great word. And like the juxtaposition of what I saw and like what I felt. Like the like watching the video from Chicago, that's the more negative one, like the
Yeah.
one that's not so good. Um like you feel like it was like hard to watch. Like everything
Yeah.
tightened up.
Yeah.
Like my heart was kind of aching. I just wanted it to be done. Like I was like, please stop torturing me. And now, like listening to the clips yesterday, even when things weren't going well, there was such a carefree, like there was a lightness of being. There was just a kind of like floating through the life. Like it was just a complete and opposite experience in every way. And it was so nice to experience because like I felt th- like I don't know how the set went. Like there weren't. I mean, you were in a tough environment, and it was only the comics and stuff, and so you didn't get the kind of immediate
I didn't get
feedback.
any like I didn't get any laughs, I didn't get any positive feedback,
But
which is fine.
you could
Uh,
you could absolutely feel it though.
yeah.
Like I knew even without the feedback from the crowd, just in your just from a like looking at how you were presenting yourself, it was clearly apparent that there was success. Like I was experiencing
Oh, I was
your
I was gonna start talking about the first clip. No, I did get laughs in the newer one. I'm
oh
talking about like the first ever clip. No laughs, nothing, and it
oh
was very kind of like, hey.
oh
But in
it,
the clip from like this week was there. I actually do get feedback and
yeah. No, it was so relieving. It
yeah,
was it was it was a really cool experience because it made like I could experience your success just through the audio,
Yeah.
and that was fun.
Yeah. And that's what I do nowadays. I will start recording them, just so I can kind of see my mannerisms and how I like act on stage and if I need to kind of correct anything. But um I do like a voice memo anytime I go up now just to kind of be able to listen back and see and actually listen to the laughs. I mean, there are certain moments and it's really kind of unique. I was telling Hylan about this afterwards. Like all the comics that went up last night for the Saturday show, I've heard them do a lot of their bits in open mics, and I've heard some of them do bits and they get a lot of laughs in open mics, and I've heard some of them do their bits and they get no laughs at the open mics. But
Mhm.
then this Saturday show, like they did really great. Like I was super impressed with this comic Tom. Tom does these jokes at the open mics that like don't really like get a big laugh, and so you think, you know, and my sense of humor, it's kind of weird being a comic. You don't really laugh at other comics' jokes unless they're like really, really, really funny. Um, which is kind of a weird thing. I don't know what that's all about, but like I've kind of picked up on it. So like when I'm at the open mics and Tom goes up, I don't necessarily like die laughing. I don't think he's bad at comedy. I'm just like, oh, whatever. But then on Saturday, like he was crushing, and I was like, whoa, good on you, Tom. Like I didn't think that these jokes that you had been doing would get this kind of response.
Well, I was shocked actually, kind of like pleasantly surprised and dismayed all at the same time because um I mean Tom's jokes are pretty vulgar, man. I
Oh yeah.
mean there was I mean it was a topic and I was rolling, man. And I was like, Hylan, you shouldn't be laughing at this. This is kind of like crass and crude and like everything you kind of like rail against in life and whatever. But I thought it was hilarious, man. Like yeah, I was kind of over analyzing things. I'm like, Highland, like what, like if kids saw you laughing at this stuff, like that's not a good role model, this,
Ah,
that, whatever. But yeah, man, it was super fun. I thought it was hilarious. I was shocked at, like, I mean, there were certain times when I was like just yeah, like uncontrollable laughter. Like it was, I was shocked. And I enjoyed. I mean, it was fascinating actually. It was fascinating. Just the like, it was enjoyable. It just in the pure like just laughing and just hearing funny stuff and
yeah.
just like watching people. But it was also fascinating to kind of like watch um the psychology of things on stage and the dynamics within the audience and just like looking around, like I was paying attention also to the audience members and there was some unique dynamics within the audience as well. Oh man, I don't know if we can talk about that one issue, but that that turned out to be like
Are you talking about with Heath, his
yeah.
joke? Oh, no, we could definitely talk about that. So Heath Thornton, who's one of the comics who's been doing it for a very long time. He's fantastic. He's great. He went up and he's starting to do his bits, and he kind of started with a little bit of crowd work, just I think to kind of get people on his side, maybe, or I don't know. I don't know his strategy. I don't know anything. But he goes up there, and at one point there is this guy that kind of sat kind of on the corner of the stage, and
He
he
was
didn't
right next to me.
yeah, he didn't really laugh at anything. He was kinda
No,
stone cold.
he didn't kinda. I mean, he was, like, scary.
Yeah. He just
But
kinda stared the whole night. And these are things that comics, from the back are picking up on in the audience.
oh my
And
god.
so he walked up on stage, Heath did, and he did a joke basically saying, like, "Thank God that guy left before he was gonna, shoot us." And everyone, gets a big laugh and whatnot. And Heath kinda starts to be like, "Guys, come on." And, the guy came back into the room. And so he came back and he went over and he sat down. And as this is happening, Heath is just looking out into the distance, very blank faced. but the whole entire crowd is erupting with laughter. We're actually crying laughing because of how like he just said that this thank God this guy left, and then he immediately walked back into the room and sat down. And he played it so perfectly. It was such a huge pop. It was really, really cool to see. And I really hope he recorded it so that he can have that. But it was really funny.
Well, and it's just the like for me again. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to like mention psychology and everything too much, but the fact like he I think that's like just shows the importance in any profession, but being able like the more knowledge you have of human nature, the more knowledge you have of human beings and interactions and how people are going to react, the more successful you're going to be. And for me, that's really the essence of this podcast is trying to give people a little bit of insight into yourself and to
Yeah.
others. But he tapped into, he realized that everybody in that room was a little bit freaked out
Mhm.
by that dude. And that dude was scary. Like I was thinking the
To give
exact
you
same
to give you a
things.
visual, he kind of looked like the guy from Mythbusters that always wore like the beret and the mustache. Do you know who I'm talking about? You ever watch
No,
Mythbusters? Okay, well,
sorry.
hopefully the audience knows who I'm talking about. I think his name's Jamie from Mythbusters. I don't know for sure, but he looked like that guy. Maybe I'll throw up a visual now. There it is.
Like tattoos and yeah,
Yeah, but
just
just like he just sat there and just was kind of watching and was just straight faced the whole time.
no body language, no receptivity, no reactions, like just
And he was
stoned.
not trying to, say anything bad about him. He was by himself. Like he didn't have a buddy with him. He didn't have a girlfriend or anything. He just sat at the front by himself, didn't laugh, then left.
Drinking a few drinks,
Yeah.
so you didn't know exactly how far along he was. But yeah, but no, I mean, Heath like read that room, read that situation, and just nailed it perfectly. And
Yeah.
to me, like that's an excellent example of why, like in education and comedy and business and whatever, like if you can read people and you can read situations and you can have that little bit of extra knowledge and can tap into it, you can create a situation where you get everybody. I mean, everybody in that room was instantaneously
Yeah.
connected,
Yeah.
right? Every like there was a community. Like when he said that, and then the way that he handled it afterwards, he nailed it. Like that
Yeah.
was just that was one of the funniest things that I've seen in a long time, and just it would be so funny to put that clip up and just
I'm
see
gonna
if other
see
people
I'm
react.
gonna see if like when I go this week, if he's there, I'm gonna ask him if he has it and see if where it's at. Maybe I could like steal the clip and throw it up. But we'll see. I don't know if he said he recorded it in
Yeah.
his act, but I've heard him say that before as a joke.
Okay.
So we'll see. He actually did. He might not.
But no, I mean, yeah, it was really, really funny, and but it was just such a, yeah, it just reaffirmed like, uh, like knowledge of human nature is a really, really useful tool. So,
Yeah. What else about the night was stood out to you?
well, it was just so cool to see everybody's approaches. I mean, it's just so fascinating to see how people choose to interact, how they think they can connect with people, what they think will allow them to be funny to others, and just like the like you. I think you mentioned. I don't know if you mentioned it on the podcast, but we've talked about it. Like the voice, like how you present yourself, and
Yeah, that's a big thing. I want to hit on that for a while. So I was talking to Hylan outside of the podcast, and maybe we did mention. But what I've been trying to figure out is kind of like what my voice is. And what I mean by that is not exactly like how I sound, but kind of like my cadence, right? So, for instance, Heath, who we were talking about just a few minutes ago, he is very animated, very just like big and kind of, yeah, that's the best way to like approach it. He's very animated. And then there was other people on the show that are very kind of like quiet and kind of like work the stage and have this kind of almost awkwardness to them, but it doesn't feel awkward. There's like humor in the silences and all of that stuff. And so these people have figured out how they do stand up and kind of like what their voice is. I don't really know what mine is yet. I've only been doing it for, I don't know, 2 months, maybe 3 months now. And so I'm kind of trying to figure it out what it is. I think I'm heading in the right direction, but I'm excited for when I like really kind of like hone in on it and then I'll be in a good spot.
Well, I think it's super fascinating to me in seeing that because it's a very small percentage of the actual words of the joke. It's a huge aspect of a person's comedy and willingness and ability to make people laugh is the the way that they use their body, the way that they position themselves on the stage. I mean, there's so much more than just the words, right? Like if you have a really funny worded joke, but the delivery is off, the presentation is off, um the body language, the like if you turn people off in some way, it's not going to work. I mean, there's so much that goes into actually making a a funny set in comedy,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm just saying the same things again and again, but it was so interesting to me to watch and to kind of try to dissect, like, why is that person funny? What is that person doing to draw you in? Like, I one of my favorites was Mark. I really enjoyed,
Mark
and
Mark Anthony.
Mark Anthony, yeah. Yeah, like shout out to Mark Anthony, like well done, buddy. But I like the fact that he was so quiet. He kind of like drew you in. Like
Hmm.
you had to pay attention to what he was saying just because he was like the quietness kind of forced you to pay attention to him. And then Heath is the opposite end of the spectrum. Like he kind of like shouts at you and like,
Yeah.
hey, pay attention to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like that kind of stuff. I was just like, whoa, what the heck? And it's so cool because you have little 5 minute, 8 minute, whatever it was, little snippets, and then you have another person to study.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, like this is like the greatest case study ever. It's like just like 5 minutes at a time of really interesting things going on, and then another person steps up and you're just like, this is
Yeah.
yeah, it was awesome, man. I had a really great time.
Yeah. And it's just like one fun thing. So outside of the comedy club, we got done, come back here, and then me and Hyland just kind of started talking about the process of what I've been going through about trying to write jokes, what it's like going to open mics, how sometimes I'll like have a good night, I'll get a bunch of laughs with certain jokes. The next night I'll do the same jokes. I'm not getting any laughs. I'm kind of bombing. And it's so kind of funny and unique how it also depends on the audience. It depends on how you execute it that night. And so we started to talk about, all of those things. And that's when I showed him the clip of the most recent jokes. And I kind of walked him through how. So, for instance, there's a clip from this podcast where I talk about, walking along and someone palmed my head like a basketball. And that was
Oh
like kind
yeah.
of like one of our funnier clips and whatnot. I've been doing that joke, that like bit on stage, which is cool to take something from the podcast and put it into my act. And the way I say it on stage is completely different than the way I've said it in the video. And me and Hylan were talking about it, and he was saying that the kind of the cadence, the way I say it in the video, is actually possibly funnier than say it on stage. So now I'm going to try and do that when I go on stage.
Well, it's interesting though. Like you think it's totally different. I think it's like minimally different, but it makes a huge difference to
Yeah, it
me.
might be minimally different, but I think that's the thing about comedy is like
Yeah,
even the slightest change.
yeah.
Well, I mean, there's one joke that Tom had done where he referred to something as one word. I'm not going to say what it is. And then
Yeah, I don't know if you
the
can
next
repeat any
week,
of Tom's.
he chose a different word, and this is during the open mic. So he'd been doing this joke. He's kind of working on it. Gets to the punchline. He uses a specific word one week, and we're like, some laughter, whatnot. And then the next week, he did a completely different word, and it got way better, way more laughs. And we're like, oh, I like that word better. Like it's funnier.
Mhm.
And just even that little, like changing one word can have such an impact on the joke, which I think is a really cool thing. And just also like your cadence and how you speak about it. It's one thing that I'm trying to work on with my stand up because I record it, I'm kind of afraid of the silences. So I will kind of run through jokes. I'll
Mm,
start to say one and then I'll kind of be like, it's not that bad. And then say like the next joke, say the next joke. And I'm not really like kind of sitting in the silences and waiting on my timing.
yeah.
So that's something I'm trying to work on right now. But when you get up on stage, you just don't. So it's hard to kind of pay attention. Sometimes you get better at it. Like clearly, the guys who have been doing it for years and years, they're like at it to a certain degree, and they just no. Like Heath was like basking in the silence. Like he had one of his funny jokes was someone during their set, Ryan was kind of like poking fun at Heath
Yeah.
and whatnot, and Heath made a joke right out the gate that made everybody laugh about Ryan, and he just kind of sat there and he just listened to the laughter, didn't say anything, just let the laughter just kind of like slowly fade. And then when the laughter ended, he was like, "That laugh was longer than his entire set," which caused another eruption of laughter.
Yeah.
And even, like, playing with that silence, I was like, "Oh, man, like, well done." Like
Yeah. No, I think that there's I think that like I'm thinking now just how important language and silence and delivery it's it's universal.
yeah,
And no matter what you do in this world, right? The way that you communicate is absolutely vital and essential and a huge contributing factor to success or dismissal or like if people get angry with what you say or whatever. And I guess like I'm looking at that now and I'm thinking, whoa, like, there's so much that can be learned. Like even in looking at this and taking what I do and how I communicate with kids and things like that, and the way that I use silence. Silence is a super useful tool in dealing with like elevated kids, things like that. But yeah, there like it's now I'm looking at this and I'm gonna take it and be like putting it into my own like what I learned
yeah.
last night and putting it into my own kind of communication. And I think that I've spent a fair amount of time and like I pay really, really close attention to how I talk and how I
Oh, you do. There's one specific instance that I always think of when, like, thinking about you and how you communicate. So, I've been around you a lot to a certain degree now, and
yeah.
so I've picked up on certain things, and there was one time where, when I was in Minnesota, we were chatting with, I'm not gonna name the friend, but we were talking with a specific friend, and, you wanted to make a very important point to this
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
and so Hyland's voice gets real low, and just, like, the way he demanded, the attention of the room was, like, very impactful.
Yeah.
You got quiet, but low, and there were pauses in how you said the thing that you wanted to say,
Yeah.
and when it was happening and, some drinks had been involved, so we were all pretty we were tipsy
We
for
are
sure.
well on our way for
Yeah,
sure.
and I even in that moment, I was like, "Oh, he's putting on the voice just to make sure that he listens." And I think it did have like an impact on the person when you
Yeah.
when you said it.
Yeah.
So I definitely do think you already do it, but I'm glad to hear that, it's something that you actively
Well, it just reinforces
think about. Yeah.
the importance of it, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, this was a great kind of just reinforcer and just like how impactful
Yeah.
that really is, right? It's like, and it's not only, and I think that's important too to kind of think about now is especially like in the world that we live in now, like how impactful our words are just by themselves.
Yeah.
Like let's choose our words carefully, but also let's pay attention to how we're delivering things. Like what
Yeah.
like are we coming in like with like the way like you could I think you could have done the same exact set like in Chicago and now and with very very different results. So
Oh,
let's
yeah.
let's let's be aware of the impact that we're having on others. Like let's yeah, I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Especially now. I think now people are so kind of on edge and so quick to like like we were talking about this yesterday. like conversations get shut down so quickly. Like people don't even want to take the chance to discuss things. And I think part of it is maybe some of it, like the way we begin conversations is pretty confrontational
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But I don't know. I think it's even
And
more
also, I think
important
I think
now.
some people are very like reactionary.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I think that it's kind of like a fear response,
Yeah.
a fear of being judged or criticized and whatnot. And I think if you go in any conversation like that, having that out the gate, it's just very tough because there have been situations where you can just get like shut down,
Yeah.
and that's also like debilitating because imagine you were giving a presentation to a class and halfway through someone just went stop.
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Oh, what do I do now?"
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a part of the world today, but also like let's try to be aware of what others are thinking and what approaches they may have or
Yeah,
perspectives or whatever, and try to kind of adjust. I think that's the magic of comedy is I think that you're adjusting constantly.
yeah,
Like you're trying to figure out like, okay, what is like my approach last night is not going to be the exact same. Like
yeah,
there's going to be small tweaks, and I think that there's value in that.
yeah,
Like life requires tweaks,
yeah,
right? Whether you're on a comedy stage or the business boardroom or the classroom, right?
yeah,
You gotta you can't just you can't just do the exact same set every single moment
yeah.
of life.
Switch it up. Change
Switch
it
it
up.
up. Switch it up.
Yeah. Well, gang, this episode was for you comedy fans. We got really deep into comedy, which I love. Like I could talk about comedy in the process all day.
Well, I hope
So
I didn't like
no, no, no. Don't
I
take me saying that as a bad thing.
no,
I'm
I
just
enjoyed.
okay.
I hope I didn't say the same thing over and over. Like I was really, I was super happy.
We kind of tend to do. I tend to do that. I saw. I'm getting sidetracked. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching and listening. If you want to check us out, we're on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. You can also reach out to us in the comments or at NopeOpePod at gmail.com. We appreciate you watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next one.